Hey guys, welcome to another Tech Thursday. My name is Jonathan Price with the Film Scoring Practice Facebook group. Welcome. And I'm just going to say a happy Valentine's Day yesterday. I had a wonderful date with my wife and my daughter, who's wonderful, and my son, and we just had a wonderful time being a family. So if you guys had a great Valentine's Day, that's fantastic. If you didn't, I'm really sorry. Find somebody and just give them a hug and tell them you love them, tell them you appreciate them, and make the world a better place. Okay, so that aside, this week we are going to jump into the nasty world of tempos in film scoring. Now, tempos for film scoring are significantly different than trying to pick a tempo for, say, a classical piece or a concert or whatever it is that you're wanting to do. When you're talking about syncing up to picture, there's this really annoying thing called time. Time is something that is absolute and set. You can feel like you've lost it, you can feel like you've gained it, but it's always going to be ticking away. So that's kind of the beautiful thing about time. However, when we're trying to sync up music to picture and when we have a time code, picking a tempo is really not that easy. And people think, oh yeah, let's just say, oh yeah, this is going to be 86 beats per minute. Well, it may not work. People think that trying to find a film score or trying to do a score is all going to be one tempo. And I can almost guarantee you that is not the case, unless there is a song that has been that is already done and then an editor is editing the movie to the film. Most of the time, you're going to be presented with a film with either a temp track or no track at all, and you're going to have to find the tempo. So that's what I'm going to help you guys do today. Hopefully I can make this quick, but this could be a longer video because there's a lot to cover. The first thing I want to do is I want to play this video for you. This is from Disney's Atlantis, and I believe this is a deleted scene, or they chose a different intro for the movie. It opens with the Disney logo and some kind of creepy ship sound effects and things of that nature. And so what I'll do is I'll just play this for you, and then at the very, very, very end, I will play for you what I wrote for this particular clip, and so you can kind of see what I did and just see what it does against the picture. So, okay, let me go back here and open this up for you a little bit bigger. All right, and actually I'm going to go in here and add a little bit of gain to this. Sorry. I've already tried to do this video several times and it hasn't gone well, so I'm going to turn this up a little bit. Then I'll stay on this. All right, so here we go.
Við erum komnir fram hjá síðustu vísbendingunni. Að hliðinu og Atlantis.
Herra minn, ertu búinn að gleyma að það eru skrýmsli á verði við hliðin sem...
No! Ég dræpi tillt skrýmsla til að ná í fjársjóðin sem lýst í þessari leiðabók. Alveg eins og ég dræpi þig.
Afsakaðu, ég hafði ránt fyrir mér.
Heigull! Sigldu áfram!
Svefngeftórið!
Takið á árunum, hundingar! Hvað var þetta? Sjóðgeymsli! Haldið fast, piltar! Láttu ekki eins og fíll! Gerðu það? Það horfið.
Okay, so that's it. So we're going to dive right into this. So at the beginning, there's not a whole lot of stuff going on. It's the logo, it's the dialogue, and in my opinion, there shouldn't be a whole lot of going on. So tempo doesn't really affect what we're going to do in this beginning part. What we're going to focus on is there's a point when he points and the thunder and lightning come. So we're going to add, and I'll show you another sync point, and we'll just create another one as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to scrub through here, and the first sync point that I thought of was this when he puts the guy up on the pole. So right now the tempo is set at 120. I'm going to leave that for right now because we're not going to worry about the tempo at the very beginning of this, because we're just going to work with this from here on. So I'm going to create a marker for this. So what you can do in Logic is Control Option apostrophe, and that'll create a marker right where the playhead is. So if I play it from here.
No!
Ég
There
dræpi
it is.
til
Okay. So if I play it with a metronome,
Herra minn, ertu búinn að gleyma að það eru skrýmsli á verði við hliðið sem...
No! Ég dræpi til skrýmsla.
and actually that marker may sync up really well. So what I might do is move this marker, and if you move the marker, it'll also move the image of the film to coincide with where the marker is, which is a really nice
Skrýmsli á
feature.
verði við hliðið sem...
No! Ég dræpi...
Okay, so I kind of like it there. It kind of lands on the beat roughly. There's 2 points, one where he's grabbed down here and then one where he's hit. So this marker kind of falls somewhere right in the middle. So when you're watching a film, there may be a point where you can go right before the hit, right after the hit, or right in the middle of the hit. And this creates a little bit of tension, and it creates a sonic and visual cue for the audience to say, okay, I need to focus now. Here's the point where that focus needs to be directed. Okay, so we're going to scroll down here to the other sync point. So it's this when the lightning comes, and we'll zoom in a little bit more because there's a point in here where the thunder hits and it turns white. So I think it's at, I've watched this a few times, 47.5, I think. Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay, so 47.5, and it is a 1 frame hit. That's when the whole screen turns white. Okay, so I really like that. It's a 1 frame sync point, which is really cool for me. Okay, so we're gonna zoom out here. I'm gonna close this. And so we've been going on with 120. So let's see where this lines up from the beginning with 120 BPM. The tempo, the metronome marker is on. So let's hear this.
Við erum komnir fram hjá síðustu vísbendingunni. Að hliðinu og Atlantis.
Herra minn, ertu búinn að gleyma að það eru skrýmsli á verði við hliðið sem...
No! Ég dræpi til skrýmsla til að ná í fjársjóðin sem lýst í þessari leiðabók. Alveg eins og ég dræpi þig.
Afsakaðu, ég hafi ránt fyrir mér.
Heigull! Sildu áfram!
All right, cool. So let's go ahead and lock these into position. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both of those, and I'm just going to lock the SMPTE position. If you don't know what SMPTE means, it is the Society of Motion Picture and Television Engineers. Okay, so little fun fact for you if you didn't know that. So now what I'm going to do is because we already have marker 1 on the downbeat, so we're already set there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that the beat mapping is locked to marker 1. And if you don't know how to get these windows open, this is the global tracks editor. And if it's blue, it's got the track showing. If you can minimize it. I always use the beat mapping, the tempo, the movie, and the markers. And that's my standard go-to for things like this. So then what I'm going to do, so that those are really helpful. There's a whole bunch of menus and stuff in here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that marker 2 is falling on a downbeat. And right now, it's pretty much falling on beat 3. So I can do no, not in beat 3. It's closer to beat 4. It's like right in the middle of beat 3 and 4. So it's definitely closer to measure 25 up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my playhead down here so it's out of the way. So I'm going to click on measure 25, and I'm going to drag the position bar all the way over to the marker 2. Now when I let go, this is going to snap this marker 2 into the downbeat of measure 25. Now this will also change the tempo. So we're currently at 120 BPM. We're going to see what it changes to. It should end up a little bit slower, I think. Or faster. Oh, 126. Okay, so it jumped the entire thing up to 126. Okay. Well, that's going to throw off a lot of stuff at the very beginning. So if we look down here, marker 1 is no longer going to be in the right spot. It is. So it changed, so it added a marker point. Sorry about that. It added a marker point. So we have 120 all the way up to this point, and at 126, or at measure 18, it's going to jump to 126.9. That's totally fine, because in this point, you may not have some sort of tempo or rhythm or anything like that. That's totally fine, because now we can transition really smoothly, and the only people who need to hear the click are the musicians that are playing. And so there's a couple of ways that you can do that for the musicians. They're pretty good at knowing when a tempo is going to jump up. They just hear it and they feel it and they just keep playing. They're pretty amazing like that. Okay, so we have one marker here. So let's go to marker 2, because here's where we want our real tempo change. So 126 is kind of trucking along. Let's hear what 126 sounds like. So here's 120. We'll just start at 16.
Herra minn, ertu búin að gleyma að það eru skrýmsli á verði við hliðið sem...
No! Ég dræpi tillt skrýmsla til að ná í fjársjóðin sem lýst í þessari leiðabók. Alveg eins og ég dræpi þig.
Afsakaðu, ég hafi ránt fyrir mér.
Heigull! Sildu áfram!
So for this section at marker 2, I want this to be a little faster. I'm thinking on dun 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 dun. So I'm going to go up to about 100 and let's try 130, 135. Let's just go around. 3, 4, 5. Now, when I let go of this, this is definitely going to push the marker off of the beat. So that's fine, because we're gonna manipulate this a little bit. Okay. All right. So we have a continuation. Marker 2 still on beat 1 because we haven't changed this tempo yet. So the tempo between bar 18. Let me close this. We don't need this anymore. The tempo between bar 18 and bar 25 isn't changing yet. We want the tempo to change on beat 25, so that's why the marker hasn't moved. Now let's say there's a couple of things we can do. So now we have a jump in tempo. So we have 120 at 17, 126 or 127 at 18.
fjársjóðin sem lýst í þessari leiðabók. Alveg eins og ég dræpi þig.
Afsakaðu, ég hafi ránt fyrir mér.
Heigull! Sildu áfram!
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so now we have these two tempos right here, and there's a couple of things that we can do. So let's say that we wanted to speed up the tempo gradually from 18 to 25 to make this a little bit more intense. So what you're going to do is, if you look closely here, I'll zoom in for you. You see this kind of blacked out circle, okay? So what that is that's a marker point, and this is going to adjust your tempo in a slope style. So if you click and hold on it and drag it, you can drag it all the way up here, over here. You can make the curve so you can keep the tempo flat over here, and then it ramps up, or you can create it so that it ramps up more quickly and stays at 136 or 135 up here, or you can do whatever you want. But what we have to remember, we have to watch, is what it's doing to the second marker. Okay. So this is where if you're married to a particular marker or you're married to a particular tempo, you're going to have to get rid of that idea. You're going to have to be able to be flexible with your tempos, and you can't say, well, I have to be right on 126 at 126.9 right here, and then I have to be at 135 right here, but I have to have a time change. Well, the funny thing is about time is that you can change the tempos however you want. Time is still going to keep moving. So that marker has to move. Now, if you change the tempo, the time can be a little bit more flexible. It's still going to be finite, but or in place. But so you're going to have to be flexible. Be flexible with those tempos. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch this marker too. And so I want an increase in tempo from 126 to 135. Okay. So here's a couple of ways we can do that. So I'm not married to 126 or 135. So if I move this across here, the tempo is going to get closer. The closer I get to measure 25, the closer the playhead or the marker will be to the downbeat of 25. Conversely, if I move it all the way over here, it's going to get further away. Okay, so we need to kind of find a happy medium. And I don't even want my tempo to start increasing until about 2 measures before. Okay, so roughly there. Okay, so we're pretty close. Now I've already done a beat map for this, so I'm going to leave that the way it is. But what I am going to do is I'm going to adjust these tempos. So right now all of my tempos are selected except for the 120 that's at the very beginning. So what I'm going to do is click this. And if I adjust this tempo just by itself up just a little bit, it's going to push it out. So you always want to do these in small increments. So if I want to push it down, now I'm moving it closer. Okay, but I want this point to be a roughly 135. So, well, how do we get that to be 135 and get it on the beat? Well, we come over here to this point, and we're going to change this point. So we're going to drop it down a little bit and move it closer. So I've only moved it down 1 BPM. So if I move it down 1 again, so 124, that's pretty darn close. Now it may not be smack dab on, I mean, it looks pretty darn close. So I'm just going to leave it there. Okay, so we now have a consistent tempo. We have an increase in speed up to 135. Okay, so let's hear what that sounds like. So we're at 120 at the beginning.
Það eru skrýmsli á verði við hliðið
124.
sem...
No! Ég dræpi tillt skrýmsla til að ná í fjársjóðin sem lýst í þessari leiðabók. Alveg eins og ég dræpi þig.
Afsakaðu, ég hafi ránt fyrir mér.
Heigull! Sigldu áfram!
All right. So yeah, that worked out really, really well. Okay, so now let's pretend that we're doing so that's an accelerando. So for those of you who don't know, that's just we're making the music speed up. So you want to make sure that you have this tempo information in there before you start recording any of your MIDI, your music, or anything like that. And you want to have the music kind of going in your head as to what you want to do. Otherwise, when you start putting in your music and stuff like that, it's going to be hard to kind of shift it around. Even though it does a little bit, the MIDI data and the beat mapping data cannot be synced to the tempo at the same time, which that is just it's mind-boggling for me. Sorry, I misspoke. The markers, and so these markers up here can be synced to the beat map and the tempo, or the beat mapping, and the MIDI down here, if you were to write something, can be synced to the beat mapping, but both of them together cannot be synced to the beat map. That's why you have to have your markers set and your beat mapping done before you start the whole writing process. So all right, so let's do something else. So in this, we're going to pretend like we're going to do a retardando. Good grief, I haven't had all my coffee yet. So what we're going to do is let's pretend that this is something a little bit more romantic. Now you're going to do the exact opposite of what I showed you up here. So let's say it starts at 140 and so this marker gets pushed out to bar 26, or do I want it on bar 25? Now this is something that you're going to have to think about musically, is we have we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, either 8 measures. So here's measure 8 of that from that point, and here's measure 9. So if I put it on, if I try to move it out to beat to bar 26, I would have a perfect 8 measures with tempo changing. So actually I'm going to do that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this down, and that's going to bring it closer, but I don't want to do that. I want to make it further out. Okay. So I'm going to push it. But I still want this to be at 130. So let's pull this out here to 135. There we go. 134.9. We're close enough. So now what we have to do is we have to look at, okay, is this going to be a quick change, or is this going to take a while for it to get down to the beat? Okay. So I'm going to increase this. So click and hold and increase it. Now this is really fast, and I wouldn't actually do this. This is just for demonstration purposes. Okay, so we're pretty close right here. So I'm going to drag this over here and see what happens. It should bring it closer. Oh, it pushes it further out. Okay, so I'm going to come back over here and bring it closer. So that tempo's a little too fast. So I'm going to bring it down. And I actually want, so I want this to decrease, start decreasing in tempo right here, right on bar 24. Okay, so I'm going to click and hold this. I'm going to drag this down one beat at a time. So 147, 146, 9. All right, so I'm on there. So now we have a decrease in tempo from 146 to 134. So let's hear what that sounds like.
Skrýmsli á verði við hliðið sem...
No! Ég dræpi tillt skrýmsla til að ná í fjársjóðin sem lýst í þessari leiðabók. Alveg eins og ég dræpi þig.
Afsakaðu, ég hafði ránt fyrir mér.
Heigull! Sigldu áfram!
All right, so I'd never actually write that sort of tempo mapping for a piece like this because the intensity is supposed to be ramping up and not ramping down, but I'm just showing you for practical purposes what the tempo and how this tempo mapping can work in Logic. All right, so I think that's just about it. So don't get married to your tempos. Be flexible with them, and make sure that you're moving and adjusting tempos. One thing that you're going to have to remember is that if you click on the line, it's going to drag the entire rest of everything. It's going to move it all over the place, and you're going to end up with some really, really wonky sync points. So move one node at a time and just use this as a fine tuning, but make sure you have it where you want it exactly. So I'm going to undo that. Okay, so that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment in the comments section, as well as if you have any suggestions for next week's topic, that'd be great. So I'm going to show you what I did with this little gem, and yeah.
Komnir fram hjá síðustu vísbendingunni. Að hliðinu og Atlantis.
Herra minn, ertu búinn að gleyma að það eru skrýmsli á verði við hliðið sem...
No! Ég dræpi tillt skrýmsla til að ná í fjársjóðin sem lýst í þessari leiðabók. Alveg eins og ég dræpi þig.
Afsakaðu, ég hafði ránt fyrir mér.
Heigull! Sigldu áfram!
All right. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment. Just tag me in it. If you have a question or if you need something explained a little further, or you want to suggest a video tutorial for next Thursday. All right. Thanks, guys.